I think I just found my new favorite wide-angle lens for full-frame cameras, specifically L-mount cameras. I've been testing this lens with some really fun cameras recently, my Pixis 12K, the S1R2, the S9. I have a bunch of samples we'll go over, but today we're talking about the Viltrox 16mm f1.8. I'm also filming this talking head with it right now in 8.1K on the Lumix S1R2. I have tons of stuff to show you guys and I'm really excited to get into it, so let's do it. First of all, look at this. Look at the width. It's incredible. Let's start with build and design. It's more of the boring thing, but there's a couple fun little nuggets here and there before we get into image quality and stuff. So like I mentioned, first of all, it is L-mount only, at least right now, and it's 550 grams. It's not super heavy. It's in that sweet spot where it feels good on smaller cameras like the S9. Obviously it looks a little big on that camera, but it's not too heavy. And then even on my Pixis 12K cinema camera, it worked really well. I'm excited to get into more of like the cinema stuff with you guys about this lens, because this thing is insanely versatile. The outer housing of the lens is all metal, feels very high quality, nice and rugged, and even like the rings and stuff feel very quality. Actually, the aperture ring is able to be clicked or declicked, and it's a physical ring on the lens. So it's kind of got like that Fuji vibe to it, which I will take every single day over using a tiny dial on a camera to adjust my f-stop. I love that tactile experience. You also get an autofocus manual focus switch, a USB-C port on the lens mount itself for future firmware updates. And then you have these two little function buttons on the left side of the lens that feel incredible. Like to click, I don't know how to describe it. They feel more responsive than other lenses that I have with those custom buttons. They have a nice like tactile click to them, so you know you're definitely hitting the button, you're not missing it. On function 1, I have it set to choose my focus subject mode, so I can quickly cycle between bird, train, car, human, dog, milk, I don't know. There's a lot of options on these Lumix cameras, and this button just makes it a little quicker. But the function 2 button is very interesting. So before I dive into that, you also have to realize there's a cool little LCD screen on the top of this lens, and that's what shows you all the information you need to know. So back to function button number 2, basically, what you can do with this little guy is set focus points to create a rack focus by just tapping the button. So basically, you tap to go to point A, and then you set that on the lens, hold it down to set it, do the same thing for point B, and then when you click function button 2, it racks in between those two focus points, which is actually really helpful depending on what your setup is for your shot. That could help in a pinch where you have to nail critical focus on a stylized shot or something. Now, if you're doing manual focus on this lens, it actually feels really nice. It doesn't feel like those digital focus by wire methods where you just lightly touch focus and it flies to the infinity and then flies back, or it adjusts based on your speed. It tries to keep in line with what you're doing, if that makes sense. This lens feels more truly manual. I don't know exactly what system they're using, but even using this on my Pixis, it felt like more of a cinema experience than a focus by wire experience. So take that for what it's worth, but for me, I like having that longer focus throw. So when I'm adjusting my settings, it's not going too quickly to the background or foreground. It's more of that human, natural looking, easing into focus points, and I love that. So it feels great for manual focus, but we will get into autofocus here in a second as well. Also realize that the front of this lens is a 77mm thread. I always have my lens filters in 82mm and then just buy step rings. So I buy like a 77 to 82 or a 59 to 82. I always go with 82 so that it's just easy to use one filter. And the front element of the lens doesn't bulge past the thread. So it's super wide, but also you can use whatever filters you already have with it, which is great for ND outdoors or if you use mist filters or whatever. Let's talk about minimum focus really quick. It's basically a long pointer finger's distance away from the lens is where you can focus. You can get nice and close. So it's not quite macro, but you can get pretty dang close. And I always love shooting subjects with wide angle and short focus distances like this as close as possible sometimes, just to get that crazy, super wide background, but you're getting like a portrait looking shot because you have that close focus and the 1.8 option to get blurred out backgrounds. It's a really unique look depending on what you're going for. I always think of the Revenant when I'm shooting with wide angles and shallow depth of field. The cinematography of that film's incredible, and it's a lot of wide angle stuff, but kind of shot with more of like a portrait style, if that makes sense. And you can do that with this lens. Now, what about flares? This is where a lens can get really nasty really fast, and luckily they're very well controlled on this lens, at least from what I tested. I did your typical shine a light into the lens in the studio, and obviously you can make flares appear, but they're not super crazy, which I'm happy about. But outside, kind of shooting some real world stuff, I experienced some like really nice, like hazy looking flares that kind of wrapped around the subject a little bit, but weren't too crazy. It had that nice, like pleasant look to it. I like a little bit of flaring in my footage, especially when it looks good like this. So I think it's a nice balance between like not perfectly clinical, but it has like a little bit of flare going on. So I'm happy with that. Now for distortion, I mean, obviously this lens is super wide. So if you get to the corners, like you're gonna get some skewing and some distortion stuff. Like my head looks wider than it is. And when I come into the middle, I look nice and skinny. It's another benefit of wide angles if you need to thin out a little bit without getting on a workout plan. But really it's not bad in terms of distortion as long as you're not filming your subjects like way over here. I don't know why you would be putting people in the frame over here, but yeah, it's not that bad. Now for the background, like out of focus areas of this lens, I actually think it looks really nice. It's not too clinical, like it's a very like clean looking lens, but it's got a little bit going on in the background. The bokeh looks nice and soft and has just like a nice fall off to it where it's like, oh, okay, this looks good. Especially throwing it on a cinema camera like the Pixis, it just really holds up even with those higher resolutions and like really nice image quality and color rendition. This lens gives you a great result, like a high-end looking result. So you could throw this on commercial projects, music videos, weddings, whatever you want to use it for. We'll get into like use cases at the very end, but rest assured this thing can pull off a lot of different stuff. Now let's get into autofocus a little bit. So interestingly, with this lens, it's very quiet. It's silent for video mode. You're not going to hear this coming through even your on-camera shotgun mics. But what I really like about the autofocus is it's not too fast. And what I mean by that is some lenses paired with certain camera systems like jump to focus or jump to the background and back to the foreground. They're like really trying to please you. Like, hey, master, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? It gets squirrely and overwhelming. This lens has a nice like soft amount of speed to it. It's not perfectly fast where it's like instant, but it has like almost like a more of a human like delay to it, if that makes sense. It's not like missing focus. It's got a nice pace to it. So overall image quality wise, I'm not like the most pixel peeping person out there, but I think this has a very quality, like high-end looking feel to it that works on mirrorless cameras or cinema cameras. It gives you a great experience whether you're using autofocus, manual focus, but overall the image quality is just very nice. Like even just shooting some quick outdoor samples with this lens in the evening yesterday with my Pixis, I came home and looked at the footage and I was like, holy crap. Like, I love that super wide feel that just like establishes wherever you are. You can get really cool follow shots or panning shots around corners. It just adds like a dynamic feel to your footage when it's that wide, but still high quality. And it's not fisheye. I love a wide that's like, it's got a little bit of character to it, but it's not cheapy looking, and this definitely doesn't look cheapy. It looks high end, but it's still really affordable, which is kind of crazy. I think the fact that it's a 1.8 and it's this compact makes it a very versatile lens for a lot of different things. First of all, gimbal shooting. It's not too heavy at all. You could use this on a small L-mount camera like the S9 or something and get crazy good results with super wide but high quality footage on a gimbal. But this would also be good in low light filming situations if you're doing like outdoor stuff, nighttime stuff, music videos, even astrophotography, landscape photography, any nighttime photo stuff. And honestly, I think this is a really cool lens for vlogging. No, it's not a 16 to 35 2.8, which does give you a little more versatility, but it's kind of fun to almost lock yourself into a prime, like a 16, and you get the 1.8, so it kind of gives you a different look than a 16 to 35 right off the bat because of that 1.8, but because it's a prime and because it's more affordable, it's a way better option for people who can't afford a first party 16 to 35. Those lenses are insanely expensive. This is very affordable. I also think this would be an amazing lens for time lapses or slider B-roll footage or like establishing shots with a slider. I have one right here and I'm excited to test it out with this lens as well. I think it's gonna look freaking awesome to have a little bit of movement, some subjects in the foreground so you can see the slider moving, but that super wide look is gonna be awesome. And then the last really good use case I can think of is anybody who's trying to build an affordable cinema setup. Maybe you have like a a $2,000 cinema camera and you're trying to get some really nice lenses for it, if you need a wide angle, maybe something you don't use all the time and you don't want to spend a ton of money on a PL lens or something like that, this is a really great option, and you get autofocus if your camera has that function. Let me know what you guys think in a comment down below. Make sure to text me when you get home so I know you're safe, and watch out for deer. Please consider supporting on Patreon or YouTube memberships. We have the Secret Podcast going strong right now. I just interviewed the film director of a movie called Universe Designed. That episode just came out and it was super fun. So check it out. You get the same stuff between Patreon or YouTube memberships. Just wanted to make it easy. And shout out to the folks who are already supporting. It means the world. I appreciate you guys. Check out my tech channel or check out my Instagram for adorable toe pics. And remember that you guys are loved much more than you might even know, okay? All right. God bless you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.